G'day everyone, welcome back to my weekly tipping video. As always, this preview is brought to you by PlayUp. If you are thinking of having a punt on the NRL this round, make sure it's through PlayUp, guys. But as always, please gamble responsibly. G'day guys, Clarkey here. Welcome back to my preliminary finals tipping video, the second last one for the year. The winners of this week will move on to the grand final. It really is the crunch time of the season. I can't wait for this weekend, well, starting tonight. So let's jump straight into it, guys. Friday night, we've got the South Sydney Rabbitohs taking on the Manly Sea Eagles. I'm going to go ahead and tip the Bunnies here. If I was to tip the Sea Eagles, I think I would need to tip them 13+. The reason being, there might have been a few games, but I can't remember off the top of my head any games this year where Manly were really forced to fight tooth and nail. An example sort of being the Panthers and Eels game last week. For Manly, they've either lost to the top four sides, your Bunnies, Panthers, Storms, etc., or they've smashed a team by 50 points. Whereas the Bunnies, in this instance, are in their fourth preliminary final in a row, where the last three they've lost. So I do think that if this gets tooth and nail and turns into a real dogfight, the Bunnies are going to have the heart and the desire, and that's going to get them over the line. So therefore, I think if I was to tip Manly, I have to tip them 13+, which I'm not prepared to do. So I'm going to go with the Bunnies 1-12 for the reasons I just said, but really tight game, could go either way. As could the game Saturday afternoon at 4 p.m. The Melbourne Storm take on the Penrith Panthers. These two are massive rivals. If I'm correct in saying they are 1-1 this year, the Panthers won without Nathan Cleary earlier in the year, and I think the Storm blew them off the park a bit later in the year when Penrith had some significant outs. The reason I'm going to go with the Storm here, guys, and I'm going to tip the Melbourne Storm by 1-12, I think it should still be close. The last few weeks against the Eels, for example, Panthers didn't look themselves. They haven't looked like that dominant team that we've known over the last 2 years. And then we go back to finals week 1 against the Bunnies, and quite obviously they weren't themselves because we all thought they would beat the Bunnies there and be on the other side of the Storm and be ready to verse Storm in a grand final rematch. That's no longer a possibility for them. And you look at last week and the fact even some of their big guns like Viliami Kikau are carrying injuries, and the Melbourne Storm have had a week off to rest. There is something to say in continuity of perhaps, the Storm have had a week off, whereas the Panthers have played through, so they've got that continuity. That's not true in this instance, guys, because the Melbourne Storm are so used to having a week off at this time of the year, and they're so used to taking full advantage of that, winning the preliminary final, and going on to the grand final. So, I'm two ways for this tip, and both ways are with Storm. One's 1-12, one's 13+. I'm going to play it safe and tip 1-12. There's no bigger match for Penrith right now than beating the guys who beat them last year in the grand final. But I am going to go with the Melbourne Storm by 1-12. So to recap my tips this week, guys, I'm with the Bunnies and the Storm 1-12. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next week with my grand final tip.